Practical considerations for astral magic. Of the observation of the celestials necessary in every magical work. Adapted from Francis Barrett's The Magus, 1801. Every natural virtue works things far more wonderful when it is not only compounded of a natural proportion, but also is informed by a choice observation of the celestials opportune to this. Namely, when the celestial power is most strong to that effect which we desire, and also helped by many celestials, by subjecting inferiors to the celestials as proper females to be made fruitful by their males. Also, in every work there are to be observed the situation, motion, and aspect of the stars and planets, in signs and degrees, and how all these stand in reference to the length and latitude of the climate. For by this are varied the quantities of the angles, which the rays of the celestial bodies upon the figure of the thing describe, according to which celestial virtues are infused. So when you are working anything which belongs to any planet, you must place it in its dignities fortunate, and powerful, and ruling in the day hour, and in the figure of the heavens. Neither must you expect the signification of the work to be powerful, but you must observe the moon opportunely directed to this. For you shall do nothing without the assistance of the moon. And if you have more patterns of your work, observe them all, being most powerful, and looking upon one another with a friendly aspect. And if you cannot have such aspects, it will be convenient at least that you take them angular. But you shall take the moon either when she looks upon both, or is joined to one and looks upon the other, or when she passes from the conjunction or aspect of the one to the conjunction or aspect of the other. For that, I conceive, must in no wise be omitted. Also, you shall in every work observe Mercury, for he is a messenger between the high gods and the infernal gods. When he goes to the good, he increases their goodness. When to the bad, he hath influence on their wickedness. We call it an unfortunate sign or planet, when it is, by the aspect of Saturn or Mars especially, opposite or quadrant, for these are the aspects of enmity. But a conjunction, a trine, and a sextile aspect are of friendship. Between these there is a greater conjunction, but vet if you do already behold it through a trine aspect, and the planet be received, it is accounted as already conjoined. Now, all planets are afraid of the conjunction of the sun, rejoicing in the trine and sextile aspect thereof. Part 2. When the planets are of most powerful influence. Now we shall have the planets powerful when they are ruling in a house, or in exaltation, or triplicity, or term, or face, without combustion of what is direct in the figure of the heavens, namely when they are in angles, especially of the rising, or tenth, or in houses presently succeeding, or in their delights. But we must take heed that they are not in the bounds or under the dominion of Saturn or Mars, lest they be in dark degrees, in pits or vacuities. You shall observe that the angles of the ascendant, and the 10th, and the 7th be fortunate, and also the lord of the ascendant, and place of the sun and moon, and place of the part of fortune, and the lord thereof, and the lord of the foregoing conjunction and prevention. But that they of the malignant planet fall under fortunate, unless happily they be significators of thy work, or can be of any advantage to thee, or in thy revolution or birth they had the predominance, for then they are not at all to be depressed. Now we shall have the moon powerful, if she be in her house, or exaltation, or triplicity, or face, or in degree convenient for the desired work. And if it hath the mansion of these 28, suitable to itself and the work, let her not in the way be burnt up, nor slow in course. Let her not be in the eclipse, or burnt by the sun, unless she be in unity with the sun. Let her not descend in the southern latitude when she goeth out of the burning, neither let her be opposite to the sun, nor deprived of light. Let her not be hindered by Mars or Saturn. Part 3. Observations on the fixed stars, and their names and natures. There is the like consideration to be had in all things concerning the fixed stars. Know this, that all the fixed stars are of the signification and nature of the 7 planets, but some are of the nature of 1 planet, and some of 2. Hence, as often as any planet is joined with any of the fixed stars of its own nature, the signification of that star is made more powerful, and the nature of the planet augmented. But if it be a star of 2 natures, the nature of that which shall be the stronger with it shall overcome in signification, as, for example, if it be of the nature of Mars and Venus, if Mars shall be the stronger with it, the nature of Mars shall overcome. But if Venus, the nature of Venus shall overcome. Now, the natures of the fixed stars are discovered by their colors, as they agree with certain planets, and are ascribed to them. Now, the colors of the planets are these. Of Saturn, blue and leaden, and shining with this. Of Jupiter, citrine, near to a paleness, and clear with this. Of Mars, red and fiery. Of the sun, yellow, and when it rises, red, afterwards glittering. Of Venus, white and shining, white in the morning, and reddish in the evening. Of Mercury, glittering. Of the moon, fair. Know also that the fixed stars, by how much the greater and brighter and apparent they are, so much the greater and stronger is the signification. Such are those stars called by the astrologers of the 1st and 2nd magnitude. I will tell thee some of these which are more potent in this faculty, namely the navel of Andromeda, in the 22nd degree of Aries, the nature of Venus and Mercury. Some call it jovial and saturnine. The head of Algol, in the 18th degree of Taurus, of the nature of Saturn and Jupiter. The Pleiades are also in the 22nd degree, a lunary star by nature, and complexion martial. Also Aldebaran, in the 3rd degree of Gemini, is of the nature of Mars, and complexion of Venus. But Hermes places this in the 25th degree of Aries. The Goat star, in the 13th degree of Gemini, is of the nature of Jupiter and Saturn. The Great Dog star is in the 7th degree of Cancer, and venereal. The Little Dog star is in the 17th degree of the same, and is of the nature of Mercury, and complexion of Mars. The King star, which is called the Heart of the Lion, is in the 21st degree of Leo, and of the nature of Jupiter and Mars. The tail of the Great Bear is in the 19th degree of Virgo, and is venereal and lunary. The star which is called the right wing of the crow is in the 7th degree of Libra, and in the 13th degree of the same is the left wing of the same, and both of the nature of Saturn and Mars. The star called Spica is in the 16th degree of the same, and is venereal and mercurial. In the 17th degree of the same is Alchemeth, of that nature of Mars and Jupiter. But of this when the sun's aspect is full towards it, of that when on the contrary. Aletheia in the 4th degree of Scorpio, of the nature of Venus and Mars. The heart of the Scorpion is in the 3rd degree of Sagittarius, of the nature of Mars and Jupiter. The falling vulture is in the 7th degree of Capricorn, temperate, mercurial, and venereal. The tail of Capricorn is in the 16th degree of Aquarius, of the nature of Saturn and Mercury. The star called the shoulder of the horse is in the 3rd degree of Pisces, of the nature of Jupiter and Mars. And it shall be a general rule for you to expect the proper gifts of the stars whilst they rule, to be prevented of them, they being unfortunate, as is above showed. For celestial bodies, inasmuch as they are affected fortunately or unfortunately, so much do they affect us, our works, and those things which we use, fortunately or unhappily. And although many effects proceed from the fixed stars, yet they are attributed to the planets, as because being more near to us, and more distinct and known, so because they execute whatever the superior stars communicate to them. Part 4. Of the Sun and Moon, and their magical considerations. The sun and moon have obtained the administration of ruling the heavens and all bodies under the heavens. The sun is the lord of all elementary virtues, and the moon, by virtue of the sun, is mistress of generation, increase, and decrease. Al-Bumasar says that by the sun and moon life is infused into all things, which Orpheus calls the enlivening eyes of heaven. The sun giveth light to all things of itself, and gives it plentifully, not only to all things in heaven and air, but earth and deep. Whatever good we have, Iamblichus says, we have from the sun alone, or from it through other things. Heraclitus calls the sun the fountain of celestial light, and many of the Platonists place the soul of the world chiefly in the sun, as that which, filling the whole globe of the sun, doth send forth its rays on all sides, as if it were a spirit through all things, distributing life, sense, and motion to the universe. Hence the ancient naturalists called the sun the very heart of heaven, and the Chaldeans put it as the middle of the planets. The Egyptians also placed it in the middle of the world, namely, between the 2 fives of the world. That is, above the sun they placed 5 planets, and under him the moon and 4 elements. For it is, among the other stars, the image and statue of the great prince of both worlds, namely, the terrestrial and celestial, the true light and the most exact image of God himself, whose essence resembles the Father, light, the Son, and heat, the Holy Ghost, so that the Platonists have nothing to hold forth as the divine essence more manifestly than this. The sun disposes even the very spirit and mind of man, which Homer says, and is approved by Aristotle, that there are in the mind such like motions as the sun, the prince and moderator of the planets, brings to us every day. But the moon, the nearest to the earth, the receptacle of all the heavenly influences, by the swiftness of her course, is joined to the sun and the other planets and stars every month, and receiving the beams and influences of all the other planets and stars, as a conception, bringing them forth to the inferior world, as being next to itself. For all the stars have influence on it, being the last receiver, which afterwards communicates the influence of all superiors to these inferiors, and pours them forth on the earth, and it more manifestly disposes these inferiors than others. Therefore, her motion is to be observed before the others, as the parent of all conceptions, which it diversely issues forth in these inferiors according to the diverse complexion, motion, situation, and different aspects to the planets and other stars. And though it receives power from all the stars, yet especially from the sun, as oft it is in conjunction with the same, it is replenished with vivifying virtue, and according to the aspect thereof, it borrows its complexion. From it the heavenly bodies begin that series of things which Plato calls the golden chain, by which every thing and cause, being linked one to the other, do depend on the superior, even until it may be brought unto the supreme cause of all, from which all things depend. Hence it is that, without the moon intermediating, we cannot at any time attract the power of the superiors. Therefore, to obtain the virtue of any star, take the stone and herb of that planet, when the moon fortunately comes under, or has a good aspect on that star. Part 5. Of the 28 mansions of the moon and their virtues. And seeing the moon measures the whole space of the zodiac in the time of 28 days, hence it is that the wise men of the Indians and most of the ancient astrologers have granted 28 mansions to the moon, which, being fixed in the 8th sphere, do enjoy, as Alpharus says, diverse names and properties, from the various signs and stars which are contained in them, through which, while the moon wanders, it obtains many other powers and virtues, but every one of these mansions, according to the opinion of Abraham, contain 12 degrees and 51 minutes and almost 26 seconds, whose names, and also their beginnings in the zodiac of the 8th sphere, are these. The first is called Alnath, that is, the horns of Aries. His beginning is from the head of Aries of the 8th sphere. It causes discords and journeys. The second is called Alotaim, or Albocan, that is, the belly of Aries, and his beginning is from the 12th degree of the same sign, 51 minutes and 22 seconds complete. It conduces to the finding of treasure and to the retaining of captives. The third is called Akaomazon, or Athore, that is, showering or Pleiades. His beginning is from the 25th degree of Aries complete, 42 minutes and 51 seconds. It is profitable to sailors, huntsmen, and alchemists. The fourth mansion is called Aldebaran, or Aldelaman, that is, the eye or head of Taurus. His beginning is from the 8th degree of Taurus, 34 minutes and 17 seconds of the same, Taurus being excluded. It causes the destruction and hindrance of buildings, fountains, wells, gold mines, the flight of creeping things, and begets discord. The fifth is called Alcate, or Albaque. The beginning of it is after the 21st degree of Taurus, 25 minutes, 40 seconds. It helps to the return from a journey, to the instruction of scholars. It confirms edifices, it gives health and goodwill. The sixth is called Atana, or Alkaya, that is, the little star of great light. His beginning is after the 4th degree of Gemini, 17 minutes and 9 seconds. It conduces to hunting and besieging towns, and revenge of princes. It destroys harvest and fruits, and hinders the operation of the physician. The seventh is called Aldemiac, or Alarzak, that is, the arm of Gemini, and begins from the 17th degree of Gemini, 8 minutes and 34 seconds, and lasts even to the end of the sign. It confirms gain and friendship. It is profitable to lovers, and destroys magistracies. And so is 1/4 of the heavens complete in these 7 mansions. And in the like order and number of degrees, minutes, and seconds, the remaining mansions, in every quarter, have their several beginnings, namely, so that in the first sign of this quarter, 3 mansions take their beginnings. In the other 2 signs, 2 mansions in each. Therefore, the 7 following mansions begin with Cancer, whose names are Alnaza, Anatrakia, that is, misty or cloudy, namely, the 8th mansion. It causes love, friendship, and society of fellow travelers. It drives away mice and afflicts captives, confirming their imprisonment. After this is the 9th, called Arkaam, or Arkaf, that is, the eye of the lion. It hinders harvests and travelers, and puts discord between men. The 10th is called Algelioke, or Albgeb, that is, the neck or forehead of Leo. It strengthens buildings, promotes love, benevolence, and help against enemies. The 11th is called Azobra, or Ardaf, that is, the hair of the lion's head. It is good for voyages and gain by merchandise, and for redemption of captives. The 12th is called Alzarfa, or Azarfa, that is, the tail of Leo. It gives prosperity to harvest and plantations, but hinders seamen, and is good for the bettering of servants, captives, and companions. The 13th is named Alher, that is, dog stars, or the wings of Virgo. It is prevalent for benevolence, gain, voyages, harvests, and freedom of captives. The 14th is called Akureth, or Arimet. By others, Azimet, or Athumek, or Alkamek, that is, the spike of Virgo, or flying spike. It causes the love of married folks, it cures the sick, is profitable to sailors, but hinders journeys by land. And in these the 2nd quarter of the heaven is completed. The other 7 follow, the first of which begins in the head of Libra, namely the 15th mansion, and its name is Agrapha, or Algrapha, that is, covered or covered flying. It is profitable for extracting treasures, for digging of pits. It assists divorce, discord, and destruction of houses and enemies, and hinders travelers. The 16th is called Azubene, or Ahubene, that is, the horns of Scorpio. It hinders journeys and wedlock, harvests and merchandise. It prevails for redemption of captives. The 17th is called Alkil, that is, the crown of Scorpio. It betters a bad fortune, makes love durable, strengthens buildings, and helps seamen. The 18th is called Alkas, or Altob, that is, the heart of Scorpio. It causes discord, sedition, conspiracy against princes and mighty ones, and revenge from enemies, but it frees captives and helps edifices. The 19th is called Alata, or Akala. By others, Hikula, or Aksala. That is the tail of Scorpio. It helps in besieging of cities, and taking of towns, and in the driving of men from their places, and for the destruction of seamen, and perdition of captives. The 20th is called Abnahaya, that is, a beam. It helps for the taming of wild beasts, for strengthening of prisons. It destroys the wealth of societies. It compels a man to come to a certain place. The 21st is called Abeda, or Al-Beldak, which is a desert. It is good for harvest, gain, buildings, and travelers, and causes divorce, and in this is the third quarter of heaven completed. There remains the 7 last mansions, completing the last quarter of heaven. The first of which being in order to the 22nd, beginning from the head of Capricorn, called Sadahaka, or Zodeboluch, or Zandeldena, that is, a pastor. It promotes the flight of servants and captives, that they may escape, and helps the curing of diseases. The 23rd is called Zabadola, or Zobrak, that is, swallowing, and it is for divorce, liberty of captives, and health to the sick. The 24th is called Sadabap, or Kadezoad, that is, the star of fortune. It is prevalent for the benevolence of married people, for the victory of soldiers. It hurts the execution of government, and prevents its being exercised. The 25th is called Sadalabra, or Sadalakia, that is, a butterfly, or a spreading forth. It favors besieging and revenge. It destroys enemies and causes divorce, confirms prison and buildings, hastens messengers. It conduces to spells against copulation, and so binds every member of man that it cannot perform its duty. The 26th is called Al-Farg, or Fragal Mokaden, that is, the first drawing. It causes union, health of captives, and destroys buildings and prisons. The 27th is called Al-Kara Ali Halgamoad, or the second drawing. It increases harvests, revenues, gain, and heals infirmities, but hinders buildings, prolongs prisons, causes danger to seamen, and helps to infer mischiefs on whom you shall please. The 28th and last is called Albotam, or Atkalki, that is, Pisces. It increases harvests and merchandise. It secures travelers through dangerous places. It makes for the joy of married people, but it strengthens prisons and causes loss of treasures. In these 28 mansions lie hid many secrets of the wisdom of the ancients, by which they wrought wonders on all things which are under the circle of the moon, and they attribute to every mansion his resemblances, images, and seals, and his president intelligences, and worked by the virtue of them after different manners. Part 6. How some artificial things, as images, seals, and such like, may obtain some virtue from the celestial bodies. So great is the extent, power, and efficacy of the celestial bodies that not only natural things, but also artificial, when they are rightly exposed to those above, do presently suffer by that most potent agent, and obtain a wonderful life. The magicians affirm that not only by the mixture and application of natural things, but also in images seals, rings, glasses, and some other instruments being opportunely framed under a certain constellation, some celestial illustrations may be taken, and some wonderful thing may be received. For the beams of the celestial bodies being animated, living, sensual, and bringing along with them admirable gifts, and a most violent power, do even in a moment, and at the first touch, imprint wonderful powers in the images, though their matter be less capable. Yet they bestow more powerful virtues on the images if they be framed not of any, but of certain matter, namely, whose natural but also specifical virtue is agreeable with the work, and the figure of the image is like to the celestial. For such an image, both in regard to the matter naturally congruous to the operation and celestial influence, and also for its figure being like to the heavenly one, is best prepared to receive the operations and powers of the celestial bodies and figures, and instantly receives the heavenly gift into itself, though it constantly worketh on another thing, and other things yield obedience to it.